Okay. I'll call the meeting of the White Lake Township Library Trustees to order at 6:45. September 28th.
Ready?
Yep,
Richard McGlue,
here.
Jake Dudek,
Here.
Gwen Newton, Sharon Mark. Both absent excused.
Yep.
Okay.
There. And on to the agenda. Approval of the agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Make a motion that we approve the agenda for the White Lake Library Board of Trustees, September 28th, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
Right. All in favor?
Hi.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. And with that, we have public comment. Any public comments?
No, we just had our quarterly Friends of the Board meeting last night. Went well,
Awesome.
very well.
Appreciate all that the friends do for the library and the library community. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, you're muted. Thank you.
Yes. And thank you.
Any
Okay.
news? Any news?
News, we've got some things in the works. We're planning a tea for me.
Oh,
It's only been canceled. But we're trying some new things. We're looking at a bunko night. We're looking at a euchre night. We might be with this trunk tree. It's going on.
At the Township, so I can't see.
October 15th, I think, at Fixed Farm.
Yes, very nice.
What else? We're gonna be talking about trying to lengthen our book sale hours a little bit. We did have a little problem this time with allowing the friends of the library to come in from 2 to 3. And we did get a lot of new memberships. But it did irritate some people that were not aware that they couldn't come in right at 2 o'clock and didn't want a membership.
Okay.
So we think we have a solution, but we're gonna discuss that at our meeting on Friday. You know, trying to keep everybody happy,
Mhm.
but we had an exceptional sale. The best ever, and I think April's got it.
Yeah, okay, wonderful, wonderful.
So
Thank
since you did make a comment, could we have you state your name on the,
Sharon Voorhees.
thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
On to the approval of the minutes. The minutes are in front of you.
Everybody read the minutes?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Make a motion to approve the minutes from the White Lake Library Board of Trustees meeting of August 24th, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Hi.
All opposed? The ayes have it. And to the officer reports. I have no report this month. Vice President,
I have no report this one.
Secretary,
I have no report. Just move this forward.
Treasurer.
I do, but we're going to talk about that in the financial section of the meeting. Okay. Oh, I actually can take that back. I apologize.
Yep.
I need to request that you review for the bills to be paid.
Mhm.
And there were some questions from last month, and I think that, and so I think we could go through those right now. So last month when we were discussing the accounts payable, and it wasn't really matching up to what we were looking at as for the cash disbursements. Okay, so, April and I sat down with Joe Strauss, our, our accountant. And he reminded us that the accounts payable, that is the bills that are unpaid to date. That is what we've received for that month,
Mhm.
but it has not been paid for that month. So that number, that current liabilities accounts payable, that number is never gonna match the cash balance. I'm sorry, the cash outlay, okay? Because cash outlay is what we put up. So this current cash disbursement,
Mhm.
that number isn't gonna match here. So I asked him about, is there a place that we can actually see that number? And he said that we could, but it's gonna be in all these different accounts and it's gonna be pretty lengthy. Okay, so, and-
Well, it really is, the cash disbursement report is already there,
right,
so that would be,
that disbursement's already there. If we want to see the accounts payable, he said that he could, all the detail behind that, we could do that as well. He did give us an AP agent summary. Okay,
mhm.
and it goes through pretty much who we normally do business with, and so, and then it's got the current amount. All right. It doesn't quite match, and so this, what was the other one he gave us? And this is the other one that's the straight big long one.
Yeah.
These are our prepaid expenses, because we haven't been seeing what was in our prepaid expenses, okay? So these are things that are amortized,
Right,
okay, over the year. So he will print this for us if we want this every month.
mhm.
The other thing that I thought about asking him for, April, is that one of the things that I think will help us, especially next month with the budget. We don't really have a good way. He doesn't send us a report that shows us, month to month. What our assets are and what our,
That's the one I use. Yeah, I
Oh.
can send the that's one I prefer personally, is that month to month and the actuals.
yes.
So then I'm seeing everything. If you
So
want
if it's month to month and it shows us like a 12-month,
Mhm.
I didn't realize that he sends that to you because. I was thinking about this today and I'm thinking, all right, when we're talking about these investments, it's really hard. If you're just looking at this and going back through each and every month and seeing where we receive our income streams. What months we receive the income streams and what months we don't. And, you don't see that fluctuation if we have some in expenses either.
It's not that he sends it, it's something I pull off.
Okay.
So I can get that.
I think it would help the board as a whole to be able to look at the whole year of assets and expenses in one form.
So you're saying an asset report, or you?
Well, really a
Balance sheet, or are you talking about a P and L?
A P&L,
P&L, okay.
yeah, really a P&L,
Yeah.
for sure, because we don't see that in over a 12-month period, and I
Right.
think it's hard for us to reconcile.
Right, and that's how. This is what we used to do for many years, that was sort of the go-to report that we would work with.
Okay, so those were so the prepaids are things that are like subscriptions, the IT bill that we just did that's amortized. Okay, over several months, right?
It could be anywhere from a few years, and so this is something that when we're budgeting where you have to check to make sure that you keep that added in. There's some that are longer than just a year, some are 2 years, some
Right.
are more.
Okay, so. So hopefully that will, that helped. Because,
Mhm.
and I think if we see the P&L, the 12-month P&L, it will make a big difference as well. Okay. And then our next thing I have to do is, ask for, an approval for. To accept the bills for payment as presented.
I will make a motion to accept the bills for payment as presented.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor,
Aye.
all opposed, the ayes have it. Anything else on the treasurers?
No.
Okay. So then we're on to the Finance Committee report.
So in your, and April, you'll have to help me with this one a little bit. So in your packet, does everybody have a copy of this draft too, which is the financial policy draft? Okay,
Ah.
and so April, so we went through this a couple times online and right, cleaned it up. You know, made some grammatical updates to it, but also I think we removed, and there's a few things that need to be. Just some spacing.
Yeah, there's still, it's having some issues because it still has the, when I was trying to fix it from the comments, whenever the comments were removed, I had trouble getting space, so we'll have to just kind of.
Okay.
These.
Okay, all right, and
Is
so
that,
we
is
removed,
that in Word?
Yes.
yeah. So Rich might.
Yeah, I'm good at that kind of stuff. so
That's right.
That's not necessarily something I should admit, to,
Volunteering.
but sure.
Okay, so I have some notes from last month. Okay, so unless do you have the
I
notes?
have notes from last one.
Okay, so sources of funding.
Mhm.
Let's see. We had the primary source of operating funds, and we had the Headley amendment in there, and we removed that, and it now says the primary source of operating funds. For the library are 3 separate millages, and it lists the millages. And with constitutionally mandated reductions. Okay?
Mhm.
So that was the change in that. And then at the bottom of that same page, strategy for increased financial stability would include to have at least 5% of library revenue in all funds come from non-millage related sources. Yep. So that was a request from last month to be changed. On the next page. Under purchasing function. The second paragraph, purchase authority and limits.
Mhm.
Library management may initiate purchases up to $1,000 for items considered. I'm sorry, that didn't change. The library director, the next paragraph. The library director may approve purchases up to $5,000 without an additional approval. Okay, expenditures between 5 and 20 must be specifically approved by the board prior to initiation of the purchase and require a minimum of 2 quotes. Expenditures over 20,000 at the board's discretion will require a request for proposal. Any questions on that? Okay. Then on the next page, we had the board treasurer, other designated board members, and we changed that. It's the first paragraph. And it's the last sentence. Board members with signature authorization will review all payments and related documentation or appropriate accounting reports for final payment approval. And check signatures when necessary.
Should, within the policy. What's the policy for signature authorization?
What's our policy today? It needs 2 signatures. Are you saying that?
Like who, but we're identifying some people have signature authorization. So what's, if we're gonna put that in there, that it should also include how that authorization is established. So
Okay,
document what we do today, which is when,
that decision's made at a board meeting
right,
at the end when we do elections for officers. That's how we made it last year.
yeah, so, but there's probably times where it makes sense to change people because of
Somebody.
I'm
leaving.
working, I'm in town once a week for the board meeting, but I'm not available to sign, so that I'm not a good signer. So, we might change. So the process, I'm just saying we should include a reference to how the signature authorization is accomplished.
Okay,
Does that
It might be something I may be able to look up in the trustee manual.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
There
there's
might be
a.
some verbiage in that.
Mhm. And I mean, it's just, document the process we use today is fine.
I'll take a look at that and then I'll send that to my.
Okay.
all right, so Mike, so, but we can't, but we need to be able to vote on this, so that means we would, if we have changes today, we would need to, well, it'll be October. Right? Or we can vote with a caveat to that statement, unless we have other things that we need to actually put in here as well.
There may be one more thing we have to
Okay,
put in here.
all
too.
right. Okay, so. The credit card. Okay,
I had a note on the credit card one. Maybe we decided not to do this. I'm trying to remember, but verbiage that board can change accordingly or amended. Under the credit card statement. I don't know if we need it or if it's looks good.
card issuing first being used by library management. Okay, say
Or
that
as
again.
good as is. Just a note here, verbiage that board can change under the 5,000 or 10,000.
Mhm.
There was I put a note to myself, verbiage that board can change accordingly. Or this amount can be amended by the board. I think this is talking directly about the amount.
Yes, because I had here, or any future, okay, so we were supposed to add, or any future limits approved by the board. Okay, so remote purchases for budgeted goods and services. Comma. Or any future limits approved by the board. So. Which. We'll talk about with credit cards.
Okay, I will add that.
All right. So then we had electronic payments. And we removed this, there was a comment, for approved vendor expenditures addendum to this policy. We're not doing that, we're creating an EFT vendor list, right? Because then we aren't constantly amending.
Yeah.
This policy, because it's really a live document, all right, so. It'll be an attachment, but it's not. It's something that it's something we're gonna change from time to time. So then the other thing that we said under checks, we had, the last part of that sentence was, and signed by 2 board trust officers granted signature authority. So we changed that and signed by 2 board trustees granted signature authority.
And
Okay.
what was the word before?
It was officer.
Oh,
before.
okay.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
changed it to trustees. All right, and then for cash payments, every place that we had in coordination with the library accountant, we removed.
Oh,
Okay, we removed in coordination with the library accountant.
Yeah.
Any reference to a specific accountant, okay? We remove that. To the library. Okay, I had this crossed out, April, and I might be wrong. The library director that doesn't will match submitted receipts, this is the very first sentence. To the monthly credit card statement code and summarize the monthly transactions, provide the reconciled summary. Or, it's to the library director, that needs to be removed. Because it says the library director or their designated employee will match some in submitted receipts to the monthly credit card statement. So to the library director we just need to say reconciled statement summary for final review and initial approval of payment. All right. And then, the reporting one, library director, that was added. I'm sorry, check payment. Okay. So, and then reporting the library director or the designated employee rather than and accountant will provide regular reporting. for payments made. And then we're gonna reference the, addendum, yeah, okay, so addendum 1 is the EFT ACH approved vendor list. Okay, and. Well, I thought we were gonna call it a list and not an addendum. All right. Any other questions on that?
I would-
had one more, we had one more thing. April.
That was that one thing.
Okay.
The credit card verbiage.
And I would kind of give the same type of question on the approved vendors that list, that we should have a statement of how that, what is a, what constitutes approved vendor there. So I think we could probably approve as so the changes that I think we're looking at are maybe upgrades. I think it's a valid without those upgrades though as well. Did we have anything that was specifically wrong that we were correcting?
No, it's just some minor verbiage. We need to update, how, signature authorization is granted, right? And we need to include how we determined, which vendors are, approved for EFT and ACH.
Yeah. So it seems to me that can be a version 1.1.
Okay,
That we can,
so we could just bring that back. We can approve
we
version
can,
1 today.
approve version 1
Okay,
today.
Isn't this version 2?
Well, it's a draft
this is a draft. Huh?
version 2, so it's like a 0.2, it's
Right.
it's a.
So, all right. So we're gonna put something in here for the approved vendors. They're vendors that we do consistent business with,
Right,
right? And consistent and,
yeah, so looking 5-10 years down the road, the new person comes on the board, or the new director comes in board, how does somebody get on the list? Just people I want to, if I write it down, they're approved, or how's,
yeah, so,
I wanted to bring this to your attention too. We received an email from Johnson Controls, who is essentially asking us to do that. And giving
Okay.
us all their information. So that's, could be another way that it happens where a company says. It's, we
This
want
is-
you to do it this way.
Yeah.
So,
okay, but how often so Johnson Control, how often do we do business with them?
well, before we were under a prepaid, contract
Okay,
that just ran out. So
Okay.
right now, we're not, there's nothing, unless we call them. So if we
Okay.
go back to having a prepaid, like maintenance agreement, then that would be one way that they would want us to get paid. So
they're asking for EFT
they're
rather
asking
than a
for
check.
EFTs. Yeah,
Can I see it?
Yep. I just got it.
Okay.
and that is more and more common these days.
Mm-hmm.
In my business, I have one customer that sends me a check.
Check. Oh, what
Okay.
is this?
All right, I gotta think about how we're gonna word that
Yeah, me too.
for, so we can say, the approved vendors consist of vendors that conduct that the library conducts monthly or quarterly regular payments, or I shouldn't say conduct. generates monthly or quarterly regular payments and or required.
Do we want, is that the policy? So if it's not required, we want to put them on there?
No, I'm just gonna say like required, like Johnson Control. I was gonna say like, but do we want them to be always on, well, we don't do business with them on a regular basis. And that's really what our thought was for EFT.
Yes, so but I guess my point in this all was, who do we say yes and who do we say no to there? And I think that's a whole
Okay,
discussion.
I would look at what are the reasons to say no
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
The question of reasons to say yes. So why would we say no? That's,
Yeah.
I would throw that question out there. Is there a reason ever to say no? And then that might help us to write and build
Mhm.
how we want to write this. We can think of that. Maybe that's.
Sure, if you had any reasonable concern or any fleeting concern that there was deception or deceit or potential misuse in a vendor relationship, then certainly you want to have some build some protections there. So these should be well trusted,
So established,
established,
well established.
yeah.
So look to
Oh,
what
that's
more
what it
well
is.
established vendors. Something like that.
well, I think well established is sort of bad for us to think about.
Yeah,
I mean, we know Johnson Controls has been around for a while, but,
yeah. But say a landscaping company,
right,
is,
Right.
we might not feel as comfortable with their practices and such.
okay, we'll give it some thought.
Nothing against
All right.
landscaping companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Finance committee meets on October 12th, so.
okay,
Okay.
so. We can though ask for, how do I want to word this? Approval of, version 1 of the Wether Township Library financial policy. Right? So I motion that we approve version 1.0 of the White Lake Township Library financial policy, with the understanding that version 1.1 will be generated in October and brought to the board.
So there's a condition there, and what are the consequences if it isn't ready? What's the? I mean, I think there's a understanding that, we would do that, but does that need to be part of the motion?
What will be the consequences, Rich? I mean, I think we'll have it done, but what will be the consequences if we don't, then?
So, well, if you're making it part of the motion, then if you come back and we're not quite ready, then does that invalidate the first?
Okay, good point. So I can just,
Could we say it, just like bring back at a future board meeting? Change the,
or
I'm questioning if that needs to be part of the motion.
it's questioning even if it needs to be in there.
Yeah.
So, because I could say,
The policy as presented stands on its own. There's some
Okay.
things that, we would recommend adjusting, but if we believe it's not good enough to hold up, then we should not approve it
okay,
there. So
And
if it's conditional, I would say, don't vote for it.
okay. So how about if I make this motion? I motion that we approve the White Lake Township Library financial policy as presented today.
and as version 1.
as version 1.0.
Version 1.0.
1.0.
Yep.
Any discussion? Oh, wait a minute, you do the second first. Yeah, is there a second?
Motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? No discussion, then, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Thank you, Finance Committee.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna skip a little bit, okay, because that's our draft. But let's talk about this vendor list that's right behind it, okay? So let's just go through this right now. These are the ones that our directors put together for version 1
Mhm.
of our EFT ACH approved vendor list, all right? Which, as you see, most of them, the first 5 are for utilities.
Mhm.
And these are things that we pay every month, AT&T consumers, DTE, OCWR, and the water, in the Township Library Department. So, and then there's 7 others that really all have to do with payroll,
Okay.
okay?
Mhm.
And then I think that in a next version of this vendor list, we could look at some of the people that we do business with on a monthly basis, like Baker and Taylor, right? Is that what they're called? Baker and Taylor? And we have 7 that we do business with every single month.
I know some of the bills include, so here's the account to send it to.
Right, Right, Amazon services. I think that, there's at least a half a dozen, right, at least.
Well, and looking, just finding the ones that we already were doing, yeah, it's like.
Right.
Yeah, there was quite a few. I was really surprised.
What, that are
there was this many
ACH?
that were already, yeah, these lists here that we were already doing, so that was.
Yeah, the ones that are on the bottom, those bottom 7 that are payroll, yeah, that are payroll, those are already ACH and they just were not listed,
Mhm.
okay? So. All right,
So- So one question on this. What are our reviews for these individual expenses? So today, we review the checks. And that we have, 2 members sign off on them. There, so it seems to me we should continue to do the same thing.
Oh, absolutely, Rich.
So, yeah,
So just because we're not signing a check, that process has not changed on that review. We will still see all invoices.
Mhm.
Okay, we need to sign off on all those invoices and review them.
Right.
So we're going to need but that's not really policy, it's, more of the procedure, how that procedure is going to work, right? So we go and we're starting to do EFT rather than a check. We still have to follow that same procedure, and I don't even know if we have a procedures manual for those kind of things, right?
yeah. So I mean, we have a policy that we review the check. We should have a policy written that we review the
Invoices.
invoices. There, that's,
And we
Yeah.
can add that to a new version.
Yeah.
And we're gonna review that invoice, whether it's
right,
a manual check, a printed check, or EFT.
Yeah.
Right now, we do not review ACH for payroll,
right.
okay?
So that's, yeah, so,
I mean, it's in the financial policy. It's right there,
yeah,
so. Review all payments and related documentation.
Okay,
for
So-
final payments.
all right, so
I guess the question is, if it's. in the case of maybe just looking at an invoice that's going for EFT or ACH, maybe as a procedure. Those are just signed.
Yeah.
The same way.
Yeah, just in the packet. and
Yeah.
that Gets signed off on.
Well, actually, that takes us back to, as you go through payment processes, the second to the last page, right? So this is, we're gonna approve the plan for payment, so I pay efficient. Okay, I think we're good. We're fine. It isn't it? So we're fine.
So do we need so this is our version 1.
Yes, this is version 1.
And it's dated so do we need to a motion to approve this as the current list?
I think so, definitely, because I think that things should not be added to this list without the board approving it.
Right.
Okay. So I will make the motion to approve the version 1 of the White Lake Township Library EFT ACH approved vendor list.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Awesome.
Okay, so the next one is sort of a quick one, and because I want to talk about and I'm going to skip. I'm doing the investment updates last. The library credit card update. It was didn't go as well as we had hoped with with PNC, and but we're getting there, and we're actually meeting with a PNC business rep next week, and we're meeting with another business rep next week as well. April and I, and you're on all those emails, Rich, if you're available, it would be great for you to come. So,
I won't make the Tuesday.
okay, so anyway, those, the credit cards, we haven't processed either one of those yet. We don't have all the details from the various institutions. So both, banks that we're looking at, they're going to, when they come in, they're gonna lay out exactly what that credit card is gonna look like. Both institutions did say that they need to be not one individual on a credit card that everybody shares, but it needs to be made out to each individual. Each individual department head should have one with their name on it. So, and then, whichever bank that we go with for this, because we're looking at 2 different banks, will have access to view all of that, those transactions online. And actually, they'll give us a software application that we can actually take care of all the management of those credit cards. So we can say, okay, this is a new person and they maybe have, they're in a department that's smaller. We might only give them a $1,000 limit, okay, or a $2,000 limit, right? And we can make those decisions, and you can add people and you can subtract them. They generate a new credit card. Okay. So both of them sort of run about the same. They run around, they seem to be about the same. Both of them are automatic withdrawal for the payment. So that would be another EFT that we would be adding to a vendor list, right? Because we would make an indirect payment to them. And both of them said it would be EFT. And it would be, and it would be required, so we're gonna look at our options with those next week, with those financial institutions. All right, so that's still on hold.
Okay.
And then the last part is this investment update.
Okay.
And so I've put together a little spreadsheet and we're working on it. And
Right, which one is it?
it's the
Thank you.
color-coded,
There we go.
little
Got it.
spreadsheet, okay? So anyway, I'm putting together a few things and shoot. Oh, it did, okay. It isn't. So. April and I sat down and talked to Joe. And, I think in last month's meeting, we looked at the possibility of, we have easily, money that we were looking at investing in. I thought we agreed to about $500,000 that we would do some investments on. Because right now, after the library was built, we did not renew a lot of investments, and now is the time to do that. So, And as you can see here on this sheet, I actually have what we have in the institutions, what we have in these institutions. And I should have numbered them, like the institution number 1, institution number 2. I've looked back, those numbers have not changed. Besides some very small amount of interest since I've been on the board, which is almost 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, right. So that one of them was in a CD that rolled off. All right, and maybe the other one was too, but I'm unaware of that. So those 2 numbers, and that comes to about the number that we were talking with Joe, that could easily be invested. All right, so these are the different options that I have been looking at. April was actually kind enough to find our investment policy, which from 1998. But as I was, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
But and as I
I don't want
actually
to
reading,
right now.
as I was reading through the counties, their investment policy is very similar. It's a little more expanded and they have quite a different budget than we do. One of the things that, as you can see, one of these financial institution has much better rates. So we were looking at doing like a laddered CD solution, where we would divide that money up into 5 increments, and we do and we were looking at CDs right now because of a couple things. One, our investment policy requires us to, in the state of Michigan, requires us not to have any funds tied up for more than 24 months.
Okay.
Okay, so so I can tell you, talking to some of the banks, I'm getting a lot of pushback on that, and I'm like, hey, this Michigan Act of 1943 says this is the way it goes, and so this is for our level of a library and the income that we have. This is really that's the max we can do. So right now, as you look at the market and you look at what the different options are, CDs are actually our best bet right now. Okay, so we were looking at doing 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months, so that things would roll off and we'd have that cash available to us. All right, so go ahead, April.
I was just gonna say, and then if you wanted to do it again, you could just.
Right, we can renew it, right? But we do have this money that I know that we're not making, we're not using the best of our ability to make some income, and we're really required to invest this properly. So we have to decide exactly how we're gonna do this. Because one of the things that the investment policy says also is that this has to be diversified. So it really encourages us not to go, even though one of these institutions is considerably better on rates, we're encouraged to diversify those investments. All right, so one of the other things I looked at was Oakland County, and we talked about this before, the local government investment pool. And so I had several questions that I asked the representative, and she was good about bringing those back. And much of it was answered in the back of the sheet, if everybody wants to look at it. And I don't want to make a decision on this today. I want everybody to review this. I did, so they can give you the rates every day if you call them. However, this investment pool is for local governments. They would like us to open an account with no less than $100,000 when we open it. Does not have to stay at $100,000, but that is what they are requiring for suggesting for an initial investment. There's no cap on how many times we can withdraw on draw down on that. And that was one of my concerns was, is there a maximum of how many times we can draw down on that account? And there's not. And so if you call on one day, they have, they're gonna have to wire transfer, so it's gonna be a 24-hour turnaround. Okay, so we'd have to keep that in mind. On the county website, under the treasurer's department. So I've asked Natalie, and I didn't receive an email back before this meeting, but I'm sure that I will. She's been very gracious. But it does show the you can see right online in the treasurer's department, there's there's an investment section, and the last financial report was from June, and this in the APY. was from that June statement. Okay, so one of the things I did notice as well, because somebody said, one of the banks says, well, you know, maybe you don't want to do everything in CDs, but CDs are the best bang for your buck right now, and they're guaranteed for that time frame that you're investing in them, right? And as I looked at some of these, like this investment fund, you know, they're using bonds and other federal assets as well, and they're not nearly as lucrative, you know, as just doing a straight CD at this point. So,
What is the insurance on the CDs?
well, that, we have two banks, we're gonna ask that. I know that when I asked, this one, the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one down, they said they actually, and I put that in the comment, that was the maximum allowed. The other ones, I don't think have that maximum allowed, because I saw on the county's website, they also invest in all of these. And in many of them were at like 10 million,
No.
yes.
But there's a difference between their max
Okay,
and what the,
what the
What the-
FDIC is,
yeah.
okay, so I thought the FDIC was 250,000, I have to go back and look, it might be 500 at this point.
Yeah, and the,
But you say,
Credit-
and we say that,
credit-
Rich, and we're not adhering to that today.
right, yeah, no, we need to, understood.
Right, and so I don't know if that number is per, like if we took out more than one CD
Mhm.
at an institution.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
We need to. be-
that is something we will ask next week when we talk to these people, okay? So, you know, we would like to make an investment, I'd like to, but, I think today, I hate to not do something this month, because we're wasting money. So, you know,
So, in Genesis, what do we have? Has that all, rolled over?
yes, we no longer have a, that is just in the savings account. Okay, and so these are rates that as of yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, so, and the same with,
So if you,
LMCU,
if you did a 7-month CD, you'd be getting better than we're getting in any of the others any of the other investments that we have.
we're getting less than 0.1% of
Yeah.
everything else right now.
Yeah.
So yes, so I could call them up and say, okay, you know, if we approve that today, we could move that money that is there. Because that money has not been touched,
So you leave $5 in the, as a.
Right.
In the,
and we could move the rest of that into a CD.
Yep.
Okay,
7-month CD.
and the other one, if we're going to do any action on, that I would prefer, we could do the same thing with, so, and these were specials, okay, through the credit unions. Those two first ones are special through the credit unions. And then the third one, we actually could do that 90-day one. And we could make that decision next week.
Yeah,
So,
so we need to, how much do we need?
so when we spoke with Joe, and what we talked about in the last meeting was that we thought we had $500,000 that we could, we know we could invest. And, you know, and that's why we're looking at this ladder approach of 3, 6, 9, 12 and 18 months,
Mhm.
is so that we will have that money. You know, and if we don't need it in 3 months, we can reinvest that money, right?
Mhm.
But not taking advantage of these rates today doesn't make a lot of sense to just sit on it for another month.
Right. So if you did you know, so if you did, you're saying 3, 6, 9, if you did if you did 3, 7 and 9, move move the 100,000 to in Genesis,
Yeah,
and then uh, 200,000 to 3 months in Flagstar and 200,000 to 9 months in Flagstar.
And we can definitely do it that way, Rich. Okay, so we could do it, so this would be Genesis. A 3-month at Flagstar. Right? A 9-month at Flagstar.
What's our balance in PNC?
And PNC at this point is only offering a 12-month.
No, but what's our? What do we have?
Well, that money that we have in PNC,
That's really check.
yeah, it's just, it's checking. We don't, that isn't, this, why I didn't even list that is because this is the money that we really have in a savings account, is the ones that I listed,
So
but I'm not comfortable listing.
I'm looking for the report that shows the balances by.
Oh,
Here we
fine.
go. So we have 200,000 in the PNC.
As of this morning, we had 167,000.
Okay,
Okay,
so at best, that's 2 months. So we're going to need to move some money
yes,
at that point. So we want to make sure we have the money to be moved.
good point.
So
Okay.
that's why I'm saying we need to look at that. So we will need to move money in 2 months. And at that point. you
Well,
know,
we may even.
So if we move, so we'll still have, if we move the Genesis and leave at there and we move the 200,000 or 400,000 from Flagstar, we'll still have 400,000 almost plus left there. So that would, so we can move money from there. That would still be liquid there. So we would be okay.
Yeah. But what are we gonna do about this LMCU? Cause I was really looking at moving some of that money. So like this Genesis one, we can definitely move, we'll move that to a CD, we'll move that to the 7-month CD, okay?
Mhm.
And then, and I think we should take advantage of, I'd rather see us take advantage too of this Flagstar one at 9 months,
Mhm.
okay?
Agreed. So you can,
But then I say that, okay, in 3 months, I mean, we could do those at 100,000 apiece.
You're saying the staggered?
Yes. Because we could do 3, 7, 9. So 3 would be Flagstar, 7 would be Genesis, 9 would be Flagstar. And we could do a 12 with PNC and an 18 with Lakes. And that would take us to that $500,000, and that would diversify it among 4 banks.
I don't see the value of doing the CD in a PNC at the lower rate. For the,
Oh, I agree.
but so we still would have, we're using.
We are using PNC today. However, if we, but if you look down here at our checking options,
Mhm.
when we meet, we're gonna meet with these 2 banks next week. And right now, you can see what our APY is in our PNC checking option, and you can see above that what our what our APY will be with that other bank.
Yep.
And I think it's outrageous. If we can't get them to give us a better offer, this doesn't make a lot of sense.
Mhm. Right, but you would be looking at putting,
You've got a point, yes.
yeah, so, yeah, we could look at other banks as well.
Well, and this is why I brought this, this one is Sharon Valley Savings Bank.
Mhm.
So these four banks, Genesis, Lakes, Flagstar, well, two credit unions, and PNC, they're local. Those are our only local banks, right? Huron Valley State,
There's a Bank of America.
oh, okay, so,
Also on Highland Road,
and it's in
White Lake.
White Lake.
we have fun of, right by this farm,
Okay, so B of A. I'm sorry, what'd you say, Rich?
it's by Fisk Farm, by Fisk Road.
Okay.
You know, the Walmart. and all that.
Okay, I will check the rates there as well, all right. Huron Valley State Bank, this was their rates. I didn't think going outside of the township that it's not gonna get us anything.
Yeah.
Right, I was sort of surprised at how low the rates were.
You can do more. I mean, we can start. You make some moves today. Make some other moves. Next month.
Okay. Okay, so, and I'll look into the B of A. So what I would like to propose is, taking advantage of this 3 month. We could do 100K into that 3 month. The 7 month at Genesis, another 100K,
Mhm.
and 200K at the 9 month in Flagstar.
So that would give us 500,000.
That would give us actually four. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would,
Who do we want to touch on?
Well, that's what I was thinking. We could, they only offer a 7 or an 18 month.
Right.
And we could possibly we could take half of that. We could take at least 100 of that, because that's been sitting there for 2 years,
Mhm.
and put that into an 18 month. And that will meet our diversification that we're required to do.
Yeah.
So I'm open to suggestions. on
Yeah,
that.
I'd rather do the 7 month than the 18 month, just because looking at the APY.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, that way we are diversified and I know it's not the same cadence we would like.
well, we could do the opposite. So we could do LMCU at 7 months, and we could do Genesis at that 18 months, right?
Genesis.
Or at
has
13
18.
months. It's at 13 months. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so I would do what we had done there before, which is all but $5.
Okay.
Rather than making it,
at Genesis.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
so
okay. All right, I will put that, I'll make a motion on that, and then, I'll put that in action, okay? All right. Are we ready?
yeah, go slow.
Okay, so I'm making a motion to invest in certificates of deposits at the following banks. At the following financial institutions. For the following,
you want to make individual,
I think not,
do you want to walk into Flagstar with the
Oh, what we're doing.
PNC's numbers or with the motion, you have to give them the motion. You want to give the motion. You want to tell them what we're investing at other banks directly, or? I mean, it's public now, it's public information, but.
I'd say that we're gonna do investments at multiple financial institutions in our local area for certificates of deposit for 3, 7, 9, and 13 months.
I'm saying that, say that we're going to do this for this bank. That's one motion. Then we'll do this
Okay,
at this.
is that what
this-
you want to do
that's-
that? Is that the way you want to do it? Rich?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, because that's how we do when we're doing the signatures.
Right.
Is we do,
Okay.
we do those
You're
as
right.
all
We did that
separate.
how we did it last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay,
just
So-
a second, I need a back of a piece
I'm
of
sorry.
paper. That's right, just so that I've got them in the right order. So you're gonna make one motion really well for me, and then we can ditto it as, but I need to have it correct at the
Okay.
beginning.
I'm
Okay.
gonna make the motion to invest into a certificate of deposit to the following bank or financial institution, correct? And
And then at this point, it's the name of the institution, right?
and the length of the length
And then the
and-
place, and
and the
then,
amount,
and then did you say then length,
length,
and then
amount.
amount? Okay, now. Go for
Okay,
it. So the
so
first one will be,
Flagstar
okay,
for 3 months. $100,000.
okay, so that's the first motion.
Flagstar also for 9 months at 200,000.
Okay,
Lakes,
okay, so wait a minute, that's one motion,
that's one motion.
right, because it's
Okay,
the same
you're right.
bank, so
Okay.
can that be all
That's
together?
one motion.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
your first motion, so we need that seconded and voted on, correct?
Okay, so that was
Is
my
that right,
first motion.
Rich?
so do you want to read out the
Okay, so
motion?
just a second. Motion. Get- Hang on, just a second. Okay, motion to invest into a CD at Flagstar Bank for 3 months at $100,000. And at Flagstar Bank for 9 months at $200,000, made by Gwen Newton and seconded by,
I'll second that motion.
thank you, Jake Dudek. All right,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, now your second one, which is, you can read the
Okay.
same way and just fill in the blank.
So I make the motion to invest in a certificate of deposit to the credit union LMCU
LMCU,
for 7 months
7 months,
at $100,000.
$100,000.
Do,
I will second that.
Thank
motion.
you.
do we need to say where that money's coming from? I think it's obvious to us, but we're moving it from the,
Right.
The
Savings to the CD.
we're moving it from
But
the,
But if we're moving it from within the same
Yeah.
financial
Right, which
institution,
we are.
so do we have to say or not?
it might make sense to include from is from the same instant accounts at the
so
existing
Motion
account.
to invest into a CD at.
I'm just reading this as a bank.
Yep,
Say, where's the money? So
what about, motion to invest $100,000 or whatever, from Flagstar Bank to Flagstar CD.
yeah.
Okay, so to invest the CD at Flagstar Bank. Flagstar Bank. From Flagstar Bank. This just isn't making sense to me.
Well, how about a place?
From the Flagstar Bank account,
Oh,
existing
the bank.
Flagstar Bank account.
Existing, there we go.
Yeah.
Yes,
Existing Flagstar Bank account to,
a Flagstar CD
yeah, to a,
for 3 months at $100,000,
CD for 3 months. Yes.
at $100,000.
Uh-huh.
And for 9 months, at 9 months for $200,000.
So you've made the motion. Do you want to, so we're correcting the first one?
Yeah.
Are we correcting the first motion?
Yes,
Yes.
in the second motion.
So did you made that motion? Would you second
I'll
it
second
again?
the motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
Okay, so okay.
Okay, and then the second motion
Uh-huh.
is to invest in a CD for 7 months at $100,000
$100,000.
for at LMCU. And I probably said that wrong,
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's,
from current LMCU savings.
there we go.
Yeah.
That works.
A second,
I will second that motion.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the final one
Okay.
is I make a motion to invest in a certificate of deposit at Genesis Credit Union. 13 months. And all savings at Genesis with the exception of $5.
Don't we need a number though?
I don't know what the number is actually gonna be.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait a
Yeah.
minute, give me a
That's
second.
the problem.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
It's
Um,
approximately, this
right,
104.
okay, so motion to invest into CD at Genesis Credit Union for 13 months in the amount, but wait a minute. okay.
Approximately 100.
Wait a minute, you were gonna give me what was left. Okay, so for 13 months from the account,
From the savings account.
from the savings account,
All monies
there we go.
with the exception of $5.
There, that's it. Got that.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
I was
Okay.
trying to do my math real quick to see if we needed it.
Okay.
Our finance committee report is over.
Thank you. That was good.
Good job, good job.
Very
And
good.
big thank you to the finance committee. It's
That's so
taken
tough.
time and they reviewed and
Okay, so you did find those. April.
I did. And I
Oh.
familiar with, the one that has the first one. It's BSNA. I'm familiar with BSNA.
Okay, okay,
So that's why that stood out to me.
okay.
Okay. So is that the end of the?
That's the end of the financial committee report.
Very
We are
good.
finally done.
Okay. On to the director's report.
Okay, so first off, were there any questions on anything that was on here as I go through each of these sections? I'll just highlight a few things. Communication and marketing, e-news sent, we're getting a higher increase in them being opened, so that's good. Sent out our fall print newsletter that was designed in-house by our own Emily and
nice.
Heather. So both of them worked on putting that together, so big thank you to them. We've gotten a lot of compliments on that, so we're
Yeah, thank you.
So very
It
good.
really looks nice.
Director Connections, so had the opportunity to get out into the community, this Carn Festival, thank you lunch for the Yes Committee, Chamber Connect Over Coffee. I attended the DSLRT meeting, had a meeting with Open Door, went to the Chamber State of the Lakes, and also was able to meet with our township supervisor regarding what they hope to put in next door. So it's always good to have a heads up on that. Facilities, so we've been working on some HVAC issues, and that's, happy to say, coming together. Obviously, we had our power outage. We've had some batteries that have needed replacing in the alarms, clearing the mechanical room ongoing. A lot of landscaping consultation, tree consultations, and more to come on that, what we're getting there. We have a wonderful volunteer who is stepped forth to take on creating a landscaping volunteer group to handle our wonderful property here. So we're very pleased to have him. In fact, he's already been starting on cleaning up, and he will be here tomorrow with some other student volunteers tomorrow. There'll be student volunteers here on Saturday, and we will be getting some adults in there soon. Happy to say that the Friends are going to be adding the opportunity to pull in landscaping volunteers on their application. So we'll have those on both of those applications. So big thank you to them. So that was nice. On to our friends again, who had a stellar book sale, record breaking again.
Wow.
What can you say?
Yeah.
On a roll, over 5,000.
Yeah.
Wonderful, great job. So huge thank you to them.
That would be like three years in the old life.
It's something.
So
That is amazing.
they've done so much and continue to do so much for us, and it's always a joy to come see them. Sometimes I like to just walk over there and bug them and say hi. Gifts and memorials. So library applied for and received 2 collections of books from the Library of Michigan 2023 book collections, including ESL literacy collection, 18 books from that, or 15 books from that, and then 16 books on girls STEM.
Yeah, I saw those in there.
4 collections total, so more to come on that.
Mhm.
So we're very excited from the Library of Michigan.
Mhm.
The next thing I want to tell you is extremely exciting. The library applied for, I should say Amy applied for, and was accepted to the Detroit Institute of Arts Inside Out project. White Lake has done this before, but we were very honored to get this again. We're going to receive around 6 to 10 reproductions. We're going to have 4 here. We'll have 4 or 5 out, 4 or 5 here, 4 or 5 out in the township in different areas around there. So that would be maybe the township building, the Dublin Center, one of the parks, but we'll be looking on that. So that will be so nice. It's going to be, it really highlight our property. It'll help people kind of walk around, find the find our wonderful seating areas, and so that would be really nice. It's going to be reproductions installed in May, moved next October. So very excited to have that art walk here.
Thank you, Amy.
That's a,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
is that
that's
longer
good.
than last time? I think we had it like,
It was for a quarter.
It
Yeah,
was
they
like
do
for
them
a
3
quarter.
months at
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as the spring starts and they take them out before the freeze, because I think it pulls out of the ground, so.
yeah, no, I think last time it was for half of that long. It was like July to October.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you thought
Yeah.
the way was long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hosted a gift of life organ donor table. We are also currently searching for a youth librarian, so we have an interview next week. Great. We've been doing some rearranging, nothing like the fall to kind of make some changes and good changes. So if you take a look in the mix, we're still working on it, but big project, moving shelves and changing up how things look over there. More to come on that. With Baker and Taylor having their cyber attack issue, we're a little behind on our book ordering, but I'm sure our librarians will, they know how to get things purchased and get things in the building. Had some professional development, Maria attending the TLN Technology Forum. Some good things going on in safety and security. We continue to have our safety committee meetings in preparation for our in-service day. Again, one more reminder, if you would like to attend that, you are welcome to do so. So we're looking forward to that this year. So we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the fire drill and tornado drill that day, as well as some Alice training. So good stuff for that. Staff kudos. So very proud of our Jacob for going above and beyond, according to, we've got this great email from a local resident. I wanted to thank him so much for going above and beyond to assist with some links. And so thank you to him. And then to Miss Emily, who received a nice review on our Google business. We love visiting. Great. Technology, this is another shout out to our friends, because without going through our friends, we would not be able to save this money on the Google Workspace for nonprofits. We were able to get it.
Oh, thank
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just in time. So excited about that. So big thank you to them. No change to our domain name and no loss in documents.
Oh, good.
For Google Drive.
That was huge.
That is huge. We're very excited. Website committee has been established. So a few staff members and myself are consistently improving that. Especially a big shout out to Heather, who has done a tremendous job bringing much more color and vibrancy and images to our website. And we are also looking into possibly a website upgrade. We're going to be receiving some quotes from some local companies that can improve it so that we can maybe get some images on there or something that just will make it more vibrant and alive. Cell checks coming Tuesday, October 11th, just in time for those two. Just hoping that one hangs on. Still waiting to hear back on the hotspot grant. So fingers crossed on that one. Developing a 3D printer procedure, working on that. That will also include a policy. And since we have budget next month, it probably won't come to you next month. It'll probably come to you after that. Don't want to overwhelm them. We had two Wi-Fi access point, actually 3 access points failed. 2 came back, one came back, getting 2, but that's almost wrapped up. So
That's what we're using this one, right?
and otherwise,
It's done.
Oh, it's done.
Yesterday, yeah, yesterday, yeah, sorry.
lights on it. So, any questions on the director's report?
No, Brandon, thank you very much. Thank you.
See no new business. On to old business. Policy comparison and clarification, personnel policy.
So I further reached out to our attorney. Regarding the Cobra issue, at the time when I reached out to him originally and sent him the personnel policy, he also noticed that the FMLA was needed some updating. So as you'll see by the letter that, a copy of the email that I put in here, we need to remove 4.11, the Family Medical Leave Act, that basically all needs to just be removed. Okay. And he is suggesting basically a new 4.11 there at the bottom of the page. You'll see it where it says the library is a public agency covered by, and then it continues on there.
Okay. I see this here, but I'm looking at that.
So look at the one that says Michael Bloom at the top.
Right.
So at the bottom of that one where I highlighted in red. Right there, that's the verbiage, which would be the new 4.1.
Okay.
And the sub points would be removed.
Okay, so all of 4.11, all of them.
Okay.
2, 3, 4,
right.
First thing.
Okay,
So is that, any discussion on that?
I can continue if you want me to flesh it out a little bit more for you, or before you
Yeah.
vote, or do you want to just vote on that one?
To me, that one looks
I thought it was fine.
Yes, same.
straight,
I'm ready.
straightforward. So. Could I get a motion?
If we were to make the motion, would we have to recite this entire?
Oh, read that, no, we would say to replace the body of 4.11 with,
And for the, time off and then.
Okay.
Thank you.
well, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
un-
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm saying like when we're making the verbiage for the motion, would we have to read the exact new verbiage, or we're gonna say it's modified to the suggested?
it's short enough that we could, or we could, I think you probably could just say the suggested, the presented text. I thought you were saying to read this whole thing.
No,
though.
no, yeah, no, I was saying, I was saying the
Yeah,
new
it's a new
text,
text,
the new
okay,
text.
yeah. We could, it's, but. Feel a lot of transcribing,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I can type it when
Yeah.
I get home.
yeah.
But we don't, yeah.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I don't think we need to recite it.
Do you want to do it with the 4.11 through, to replace 4.11 through 4.11.6 with,
Yes,
Yes.
just so we can
absolutely.
be specific about it?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. So I would like to make a motion to replace in the time off and benefits policy. Sections 4.11.1 Through. 4.11.6 with the suggested policy statement.
Policy statement.
Okay.
Oh, Jake, I better write that down.
I will second the motion.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's a nice cleanup.
So continuing on with that, you'll see the attorney's last paragraph on that, where the library could then provide leave benefits for family or medical reasons solely as part of the benefits package, without voluntarily assuming statutory obligation to do so. Section 4.12, non-FMLA leaves of absence could be revised to clearly indicate leave benefits that are being provided, but eliminate reference to FMLA and COBRA. So my suggestion here is to go through 4.12, all of the 4.12s. Removing any statement on there that says non-FMLA. The question is, do you want to keep the things that are offered currently for non-FMLA?
I would,
And then, so then my question would be.
and then we would say leaves of absences will be granted to employees not eligible for an FMLA. Not, well, it'd be leave of absence may be granted to employees for the following purposes, correct? Because we're not even gonna mention FMLA,
Right.
because we're not an FMLA institution.
The other question I had would be under 4.12.1. Is the 20 weeks. That's 5 months. So
After 20 weeks of.
so there's some time elements here that, and again, down at 4.1.4.1, 4.12.4, maximum allowed. Leave, so you'd have to say the maximum allowed leave is 20 weeks. Do you want it to be that long? To me, that seems long.
That's 5 months.
That's
Yeah.
a long time.
Doesn't seem that long to me.
That's a really long time.
I know, but it really isn't, you know, it's like, I
Because
got,
we really have to, but we have to hold that position.
yeah.
first. Put that straight. I think you have to take it back, because we're not under FMLA, do we have to, is there any repercussion for reducing that amount of time? You know, I don't know what the lawyers, maybe we ask the lawyer about that. Right,
I can take it
and
back.
what would
to
you recommend for that reduction?
I can also see what some other libraries are doing.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was just gonna say.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I think, okay, you know, someone, I don't know. They have, they're a really great employee and they have some kind of surgery that they're told, you have to be, you can't be anything, right? Do we want to add that stress to that employee to say, okay, you have to be back in 3 months? right?
Well, even something as simple as, you've got parenting leave, medical.
Right.
You've got
Right.
military, there's. So,
Right. Yeah, could you
Mhm.
ask a couple other, because obviously other libraries are gonna be under that. Well, it'll be interesting because not all, do we have other libraries in the area that are, that actually are
That's what I'll have to,
Mhm.
I'll go
Because
farther
I-
out.
yeah, because I'm
Check
thinking
the
about all
authority.
the local libraries that we have around us, they're not self-sustained,
I'll check with that larger.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So. I'm curious of who would be.
And then you want me to bring it back then?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, and then we're not subject to COBRAs either.
Yeah, so 4.16 needs to just be renewed altogether.
Okay.
If in the future you want to provide something, when someone leaves, that's up to you for consideration in the future. But in the meantime, we can't have 4.16.
So,
Okay, because, well, the way it's written, right, because the COBRA Act requires it, right? But you're saying, and per what the lawyer was saying, we could offer COBRA.
Well, you can offer something when someone leaves, yes, but
but I think our insurance doesn't offer
Right.
that. That's not
Okay.
part of our,
It's not part of our package. Okay.
yes, you'd have to, that's something in the future if you want to consider. We'd have that.
So at this point, we're just gonna leave it. Okay.
so do we entertain a motion to strike section 4.16 COBRA from the
Yeah.
personnel?
So I make a motion for policy, for the White Lake Township Library policy of time off and benefits to remove section 4.16 related to COBRA as it isn't part of our current package.
I'll second that motion.
Is there anything, I don't remember if there's a 4.17? Yeah,
Not that's related.
Cause you have that as
Yeah, personnel,
4.17,
yeah.
personnel policy 4.17.
no, it's 1.6 in the,
right, so I just need, that's what you were
I'm
talking
just-
about though, right?
no, I
Is
was
that-
asking about, do we need to also renumber the following sections or leave it as removed.
I think just removed.
And I think this might be a typo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
that's my question.
I
Oh,
think
what do I
it's
have on here?
Yeah,
4.17,
but we're
Cobra.
voting.
4.16.
Thank you, that was what was throwing me off.
Yeah.
Okay,
We don't have a 4.1.
So you'll have that right.
Like, yes, if there is already a 4.17 or 4.18, whatever, we'll need to keep, I would keep that as 4.16 is removed.
Okay, so do I need to do that motion again?
could you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I raise motion to remove, from the time off and benefits from the personnel policy, section 4.16 related to COBRA.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. And so that was the first point, strategic plan request for proposal draft, yay.
Okay, so we had the draft on there and last month you mentioned just seeing if we could find out what some costs would be. So I was able to procure two sets of costs. One, the third group is can't get me even a quote until November. So in both cases of the ones that I do have quotes for, they would not really, they would maybe be able to start some surveying in the winter and then get more into the in-person stuff in the early spring. Okay, that's what both you're looking at. So the first one I've given you. One was able to provide basically just based on the draft of our stuff, some information for you, which was very full and robust. And the next one, gave a preliminary proposal, which is fine too. And so if you had a chance to look at those, they will give you some cost differences, and so you can see maybe like what you're looking at. I've highlighted on both. the amounts.
So our,
Both are well acquainted with libraries. What was that? So page 16 of 24 on the first proposal. Will give you the total estimated event expenses.
Plus the expenses.
The other one is local, so there's not, you don't have that kind of. So this is page 100. On that one, that's gonna be in the page 16.
no, where?
Oh, there, I believe this one.
Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Yeah, that's right. I did read through this. It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I should, like I said, I should be receiving the third one in November. And the preliminary proposal that was provided can be further fleshed out by that. Company as well.
So, and I guess one of my, yeah, and we can talk about this more. My, because it's just preliminary, right? Because there's there's three people listed here. So when we went through this before with another consulting, type of consulting, what we did find, was even though we had people that they listed all their resumes, we only had one person who was really working. Right, so, but it isn't really in depth, and obviously they do a lot of this, right? And so it's, I was impressed with how much that you know, they would offer for that amount, right?
Right.
So, what's your take on it?
I mean, it's impressive, I will say that, with strategic planning, my experience with strategic planning, having done it with the company and having done it as a team within the library, sometimes it's nice to have someone who knows your community, who would know who to reach out to. They could know very well and they could look, but I just think sometimes it might be better to have someone that has a little more knowledge of around here. So I was really trying to find someone that was a little, at least in state, but keep looking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know the ones we used 8 years ago, probably,
Right.
or something, that they were in state,
They're not.
they're not, yeah,
They're not available.
they're
Okay.
out of the business.
My only concern with this the other one that is in state is, the amount of time that might be, really dedicated to. That's my,
Yeah.
that's-
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. kind
That's
of.
my, and this is, this other proposal,
That's
this is what these
they-
people do.
That's what they do.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's my, there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
That's my con.
Mhm.
Which makes this a pro, right? Because this is what they do for a living,
Right.
right? But, also, I think some of my, in one of my, so this is something we have to mull over. One of my concerns with this one is, are they gonna come in and say, we've done so many of these, this is just what you have to do,
Mm.
right?
There's a lot of prep on the inside that needs to take place beforehand. At least that's been my experience.
And Rich, you've been through this before with the consulting firm, so,
Yeah.
so your input is gonna be greatly appreciated.
It would be nice to have a separate, as we do the finance committee, it would be nice to have a couple board members for
Yes.
strategic planning.
We had looked at that before, I can tell you that the two committees that I'm on, I think I'm.
You're good.
You're really-
I'm a little maxed out. Okay.
Gotta learn to sit on your hands. Once in a while, sit on those hands.
So at the very least, they give you some ideas of
Mhm.
what we're
Okay,
over.
okay, but we probably need to act maybe in our November meeting, right? Because if we don't, we're gonna maybe miss the boat on doing this work in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, and again, depending on when in November that one company, I don't know if it's gonna be at the beginning, I don't know if it's gonna be at the end, so.
Okay,
I'll see what the timing's gonna be.
okay,
Is that their company in state or is that?
I'm trying to remember. If they are on- No, they're out of state as well. No,
okay.
I'll see if I can find a couple.
I would think with something this specific, it would be hard to find so many of them that there would be one in a state that, I mean, there could be one in our state. But there could just as easily be 10 companies in the whole United States who do this or less.
Or less.
Yeah, because this
Less.
is very, I'd say less. I was really being generous, 1/5, 1 out of 5.
Right.
But yeah, I was also thinking even much less than that. It's so specific.
Look, speaking of November, I will be away that's on the 6th this year.
That's right.
At our board meeting,
I will not be at that meeting,
okay.
Uh-oh. I will be here.
but as long as Jake's here, you're in business.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll double check.
Uh-oh.
I may actually be out because I'm traveling in November as well.
Yeah, it's a good time to travel.
Okay,
I'll just have to make sure everybody else is here.
Yeah,
I know I will be, I purposely changed my tail wagging tutors. Because, I need to be gone the week before. But I purposely made sure I was here that one.
I tried to do it the week before, but it didn't work out.
Well, you'll be here to vote. Right,
I-
not to absentee ballot. So, okay.
Other questions?
Oh,
Thank you,
Good.
thank you.
So we can put off. But I think it would make sense to have a strategic planning committee. And I would enjoy being on that. Enjoy might not be the right word, but
Yes, you would enjoy.
I think the other person that was really looking at doing it too was Jen.
then, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she and I looked at doing it last year.
Mhm.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
so I can move this aside.
I
I'm
know.
running out of places to put mine. You know?
And Karen has, well. Karen has not.
I'll just.
No, she's being really quiet, but I'm just.
She's being really quiet.
And those
I've
are-
got some really big things happening soon and I'm afraid it's gonna overwhelm me.
Isn't it great? Okay,
No, it will be.
so, drive up windows only, shoot, yeah.
Yeah, so updates to this, so, I've been informed by a couple people at the township that, we can use either town center or planned business
Okay,
to rezone. You'll see an email there from Justin. Quigliata. In regard to the planned business, we were going to have to do a, development agreement. It's gonna be a little bit more complicated. The town center one, it's not required to have that development agreement. A special land use will be required for it. But such approval, as he says there, is provided by the planning commission. It does, in summary, it's gonna be a lot less meetings, time and money, should we choose to go forward with rezoning to town center. So my ask on this one is, do you want to move forward with town center? Do you want to, is that the way you want to go?
To me, that makes a lot more sense than
Right.
a planned business.
yeah, I mean,
Because-
that's basically what we are.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
part of the town center.
It is what is going to be, when the township moves over there and starts their development, they will be under town center. So,
Which to me, it makes a lot of sense that we're just included in, you know, because we're also that government entity.
Mhm.
Yeah, so,
So do we need to,
And did you get,
Take
I
a-
mean, I have the impression that we won't have as much, a special land use for the drive through be required. But I feel like we won't have as much problem with it.
from the three people I spoke to, that is exactly what I'm understanding.
Okay,
So I guess, so the ask would be, do you want it to be town center, and do you want me to move forward with the application, start the process?
yes.
so do we need to, do we need that? Do you need a motion to do that? Yes, that's right. So that,
Jake,
I would like to make a motion to proceed with the proposed rezoning of the library to town center.
do we hear a second?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you. April. Thank you.
Yes.
That was Jake.
Okay. That's the-
Volunteers.
So I just had, I read through this, I had one. We'll come back, okay? So we have general volunteers, teen volunteers, and we have the intern practicum student. So in the library designated volunteer coordinator, I'm assuming that's an employee, right? Okay, and these are people that are just interns, correct? I'm looking at, so, you know, this should be, you know, volunteers in the section, you know, 1.1, but I guess my point was, when I was reading this,
I think that, oh, yeah. The As, yeah, the As and the Bs and the Cs, following the,
It needs to follow the rest of our policies, right? Like, you
Oh,
know,
like the points, sure, yeah.
okay,
well, it should follow the rest of the public policy manual, yeah.
right,
So this one, so the one we have originally is 1S,
okay.
Yeah.
That one, yes.
so then we could proceed,
So,
Do one S and then,
yeah,
right,
right,
okay, and then one S point one S point two.
whatever whatever we did in the rest of the manual.
Because I actually lost track as I was reading through this,
Yeah.
because I had to go back and look at a couple times and thinking, well, wait a minute, there was this comment about in here. Volunteers should have identification badge when working for the library, and now the access to the staff bathrooms. I'm like, okay, that's not gonna work, but then I had to go back and realize, oh, that's for just the interns. Okay, because I'm thinking, we don't want like our landscaping people, you know, like I'm one of them, okay, they need to use
correct.
our public restroom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
So then you would have volunteers as 1S, categories of volunteers, 1S.1. And recognition, 1S.2.
so, but these would be like under interns, practicum student be 1.1.1. 1.1.2, where this A, B, C, D, E is.
So that's gonna need to be redone because it's
Right.
not specific just to interns, practicum students.
Okay,
So-
and that makes more sense because.
So that kind of needs a title then.
Yeah,
Mhm,
Okay,
So that would be 1S.2
mhm.
here.
that
Whatever
makes
that
a lot
is.
more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I was confused there.
Because like I said, I kept going back and like, well, we're not gonna have.
and these
all
are,
the-
yeah,
Okay, so like I volunteered at libraries when I traveled for my job years ago. I always go in and volunteer for a library for something to do in the evening instead of, getting in trouble, right? Truly, it was a lot easier to be at the library. And and a lot of times I just shelf books. Okay, it was just, circulation. I wouldn't, I would only use common spaces. So.
I think what we're talking about for that would be like, let's say we had an intern that was specific to circulation.
Okay,
Even to maybe doing linking or things like that, learning about that, and they're right there, so they're in the back already.
okay,
It's right there, as opposed to say, someone that's outside. I would say even the majority of maybe our subs are most likely using the public.
okay. So interns and practicum students, these are volunteers, correct? Okay, all right.
So then just to review.
so
just like- go ahead.
the As and the Bs and such, it seemed like that, if you put. To me, it feels like that goes at the end. And like these are. Policies, I don't know. Yeah, that needs a heading or a.
Do you want me to clean it up and bring it back?
Well, because see, this interns practicum student, it tells you everything that they're gonna actually do. It doesn't just give you a description of what they are. You know what I'm saying? So here we have these categories. We have a general volunteer, we have a teen volunteer, we have the interns and practicum students. When we get to the intern practicum students, then it actually details exactly,
But I think those are actually intended to be for
These,
any volunteers. This comes-
no, because that's my point. In G. For any volunteer, no, they won't have access to our staff and so look at G, that's the one that caught me. and I thought, okay,
Identification
this needs to be
badges.
reworded.
I can take that out.
Because I can understand these practicum these people coming in and doing practicum to get their master's degree and stuff like that, to have access to staff area. All other volunteers should never have access to staff area. We're volunteers. I would never walk into the staff lounge without permission and not be invited, ever.
Mhm.
I think that's overstepping bounds of a volunteer.
We can remove it, just in past experience, as a, for instance, we, used to host the, we were a polling place. And for lunch or, dinner time, however long they were
But you're
there,
inviting them.
we invited them.
Yeah.
So it was an
that's
invitation to
different.
use
Yeah.
our kitchen and to use it as a break. So yeah, I can remove that sentence. That's not. a
It just caught me. I thought, okay, we don't really want that to be public for anybody that's working here as a volunteer to say, I did access to staff area. The staff area is a staff area. So, like I said, I would never walk back there without being invited.
I agree.
So, because the rest of it
'Cause you
really
can-
read like,
Yeah, you can decide that certain people are
Right,
there,
right.
but if you put it in
Right.
there as policy, then every
Yep.
person that comes in and just does a 1 hour of something is gonna be marching around.
so I,
Yeah.
okay, so I did like though volunteer to wear identification badge when working for the library. We don't do that today. I'm like, we should all be wearing our badge.
Well,
And I
got
did
it.
wear mine the other day, right?
I did too.
Pardon?
I did too at the
Yes.
book sale. I wore it. So.
So as I was reading other parts of this, I thought, okay, they belong to all the volunteers and some of them belong just to these interns and practices. Okay,
Mhm.
so that was my confusion. Okay. thanks.
Yeah.
So do you, I'll remove that sentence, and then do you, like I said, do you want to see it again, or do you? Are you good with the content?
So, okay, this was, let's go back to this. So this interns and practice, I can see that we would do a background check, okay? For these people, because they're doing this to be able to graduate from college, right? Or high school, but we're not gonna ask for a background check on people who are coming in here to be a part of our landscape state group, are we?
No, and it says they're subject to it, so
Okay.
it's not,
I think it would depend on what they're doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's. Yeah, it's, I have a lot of experience with background checks.
If they're coming in to
it's-
work with the children and doing certain things, you want a background check on people that are saying, yeah, I'll run your story time while.
Okay, well, I'm a
Amazing.
tail wagging tutor and I'm insured, but no one's ever run a background check on me here to be a tail wagging tutor, and nor
And
does
are
Therapy
you-
Dog International require a background check.
But is there a librarian there at the same time that you are doing that?
They're in the library, but they're not sitting where I'm sitting. Not
Huh.
with that child. And that
That's
dog.
interesting.
No, and that's not a requirement of Therapy Dog International, is to have background check. I'm
That's-
insured through them. And I have all these requirements after. me
That's
through them,
interesting
But
because
there is no background check required.
running a daycare center, volunteers had to have the same background check as my
And I'm not
employees.
saying that we shouldn't, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that is what's going, that is
Mhm.
current practice.
So that's why I wanted to put as our subject to it. We haven't discussed how we want to move forward with doing background checks. Like I said, I have a lot of experience with that, so if we want to go down that road, I want to make sure that aspect of that background checks is very clearly defined as to who gets them and who
I think it needs to
does
be,
not.
and I understand what you're saying,
Mhm.
because actually, I would never have a problem with doing a background check to be with kids with tail wagging tutors. However, there might be some other tail wagging tutors that have been here for a long time that might take offense to it.
As I said, I've been doing this for a long time. Oh,
So-
boy.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's why saying subject to is,
Mhm.
it's just our way of saying you can.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say all, I take it with all out of there. I just say volunteers or subject.
What is the cost to do a background check?
Well, that's a very good question. For the most part, if they are in state, it can be free, it can be. Sometimes out of state it's free, sometimes it's not. When I say out of state, COVID and having virtual programs, you had presenters that were from out of state, and when background checking them, there was a cost to it, and it gets very complicated, let's just say that. So yes, so remove the word all. in
Mhm.
B. Anything else?
No.
And do you want me to bring this back now as a clean copy?
I think so.
Yeah.
That might be easier for
Yeah.
the motion.
Okay. Thank you. It's nice to have one that's more done.
Yeah,
Oh, nice, 34 units on the blood run. Very nice. Do we have another one scheduled?
Yeah, December.
December.
It's great. It's on the day of the tear down. Day of the tear down, December. Well, we met Monday.
5 people didn't.
Really? December.
But we're going to, well, we're doing a lot of the tear down Saturday. Because I've already talked with them. Well. with them.
Our setup is December 7, 8, 9, 10 are the sale days. Monday, the 12th is tear down.
That's when it was.
So we're gonna.
Saturday.
Okay. What?
You know, Saturday, then the university.
Okay, is there anything else that we need to cover? I don't know, it's still in place. If not, I, Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I think Gwen should make that motion.
You think I should?
Yes. What do you want to change it?
I make the motion that we adjourn the meeting, the White Lake Library Board of Trustees on September
Should I
20th.
I will second.
Is there any discussion?
No, that was my discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned at
I just want to say that April